4 plays already for Miami and 3 first downs. Beck taking a shot.
Fast floats one for the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown!
3 on 3rd down tonight. Manny, quick time.
And I'm back. Thank you for tapping in. This is Brian H. B. Williams with the Intervention Media. This is on. Too many speakers on. With that being said, thank you for tapping in. This is Intervention Media. This is a program called the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is designed to end all the foolish fodder about sports talk. We don't talk about sports anymore. We create these fictitious lists, the GOAT, the Mount Rushmore. How can you sum up a couple 100 years or 100 years of sports in 3 or 4 people, or even 4 or 5 people? That's kind of foolish. What I've done is created a platform in which what we will do is have an actual discussion. We will give everybody their flowers. We will not denigrate anyone and put them in a specific area. He's the GOAT. Well, you can't have 8 guys that you call it a GOAT, but what you can have is use the United States federal government structure. The structure is the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ends all arguments. What we're going to do is pay respect and homage to athletes of past, present, and who's going on in the current athletes. That's why it's called the Supreme Court. You'll have 9 people in specific eras, and those people will get their props, and we will not forget those guys. The game is ever changing. The game is evolving at all times. You can't grade Terry Bradshaw and Roger Staubach the way you grade Tom Brady, because they got brutalized. It was all system go. You had a team owner named Al Davis. His mantra was the quarterback must go down and go down hard. Now you can't even touch the quarterback. So how can you grade me, Terry Bradshaw, Roger Staubach, Ken Stabler, Doug Williams, the way you grade Tom Brady? His numbers and those numbers will be skewed. The running game has changed. So what I'm going to do, what I have done, this is episode 4, is create a list, an all-time list. And we're going to create all-time for eras. You'll see in a second as it pops up on the screen, you'll see the people who were previously on the Supreme Court, the aforementioned Terry Bradshaw and others. Those guys need to get their props forever. They shouldn't be forgotten. Just because it's a different time does not mean we forget those guys. Those guys were all-time greats. They will always be all-time greats. A lot of them have those gold, as Coach Brown says, he got a gold jacket that he didn't buy. We need to never forget these guys. So instead of forgetting them, I'm going to pay homage to them. And what we're going to do at that point is create a list over time. And that list was ever changing. But these guys will always get their props. These got the Dan Fouts of the world, the Joe Montanas of the world, the Joe Theismann of the world, Boomer Esiasons. These guys, for a period of time, they dominated the landscape of sports. Nobody could keep up with them. These are guys that everybody respected. Their game was impeccable, and we're going to continue to give them their props. That way, no one is left off this list. There's no top 100 list. These guys, the Supreme Court justices, if you retire, you will always be identified as Supreme Court justices. These are the Supreme Court of quarterbacks. We will do running backs, wide receivers, linebackers, and so forth and so on. We're going to do basketball, shooting guards, combo guards, power forwards, big men, small men. It's a never-ending conversation, because this sports talk thing is never ending. So with that being said, it's time to get things started. At the end of the day, we are going to give people their props. Nobody will be left out. Nobody will be disrespected. Nobody will be omitted. So with that being said, since nobody's going to be omitted, we're going to start this week's lesson with the current crop. This is a new crop. This is the leader of the new school. This is when quarterbacks start. This is when coaches start coaching players instead of coaching systems. That's how you win. One of the guys who most people didn't think about, because a lot of people don't pay attention to college football. If you don't pay attention to college football, you will always forget about these guys or not know they're coming. One of the people that fit that bill is this guy, the Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers, if you look at the crawl up under him, you will see that Phillip Rivers is one of the best quarterbacks to play football in the last 20 years. He was in that Roethlisberger, Eli Manning class. He never made it to a Super Bowl. And this is a perfect example of being able to be a master of your craft, dominate the game, throwing a ball around to Jackson. He got Gates in the Hall of Fame. Jackson was a Hall of Very Good. You have LaDainian Tomlinson catching balls from him. This guy dominated footballs. He went toe to toe, nose to nose with Peyton Manning and took him down with a torn ACL. This is the dictionary definition of a tough guy. This is a guy who could play football. He never got over the hump. And again, football is the ultimate team game. You could be the greatest of all time and never make it to a Super Bowl. And you can be one of the all-time greats and never win a Super Bowl. When you are talking about how to play the game of football, Phillip Rivers showed us how to do it. He was a tough guy. He needs to get all his props, and we are going to continue to celebrate these guys again. Championships are a team concept. If you don't win, if you don't win a championship, it's not a blemish against your record. So salute to this brother. Now, the next guy up is one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the history of the league. Everybody and their mother loves this guy. This guy, he doesn't have the gaudy numbers, but what you know what he did do? This guy changed football. He changed the landscape of football. He changed the way coaches coach football. A lot of people didn't think he was big enough. They think he had the skills to play quarterback. The guy we talk about is one, Michael Vick. Michael Vick changed football forever. Without Michael Vick, he took what Randall Cunningham did, and he took what people like Marlon Briscoe did, and he took it to a Hall of Fame level. He had a hiccup in the midst of his career. We're not going to talk about that, but what we are going to talk about is the fact that Michael Vick ran around like a running back. He could throw like the best quarterback in the league, and when he got proper coaching, meaning Andy Reid, a guy who coaches a player, not a system, that's the key to winning in this league. You must have a coach that believes in you and then be able to coach what you do versus trying to get you to do what he wants you to do. Michael Vick was one of the most dynamic players in the history of the league. Michael Vick is the very first player in league history to go to Lambeau Field. Again, a lot of people don't understand the precedence of that. He went to Lambeau Field in the cold, being the dome quarterback, and be the first quarterback to win on that field in a championship setting, playoff setting. Used to be championship, I mean, that was big. This is a playoff setting. Michael Vick was one of the most dominant players in the league. He is the first guy to get 2 separate $100 million deals. Michael Vick was dynamic. He was a superstar. He was a stalwart of the league. The hiccup in the midst of his career slowed him down. That does not slow us down for giving us his props. And that leads us to the next guy. This guy is another guy who doesn't get enough props. He had issues with teammates, and people forget about him. This guy's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of the winningest quarterbacks in the league, and people overlook him as if he's an afterthought. Donovan McNabb, he could run, he could throw, he had a hose, he could knock people out. He was winning big games and big moments. He didn't have the prerequisite weapons around him, people like Freddie Mitchell and James Trash, who were second or third tier receivers, and he couldn't get over the top. He didn't have a running back. And at the end of the day, at this point, Andy Reid was trying to win his way instead of trying to win the way of football. Donovan McNabb was dominant. Donovan McNabb needs a yellow jacket. He was one of the best quarterbacks of his era. 5 NFC championship games, 1 Super Bowl appearance, lost to the vaunted New England Patriots, but that's neither here nor there. Donovan McNabb, when you talk about quarterbacks in this era, this third tier of Supreme Court, Donovan McNabb earned his position. He was one of the best to do it. He is one of the best to ever do it. So Donovan McNabb earned and owns his position on the end of the bench, Supreme Court. The next guy up is a guy who, had he gone to a traditional school or PWI, he would have potentially been the very first player picked in the draft that year. He was dynamic. He threw the ball all around the yard. He could run. He could throw. He was a linebacker in a quarterback's position. This dude He shared the MVP with Peyton Manning. He lost in the Super Bowl, one of the most thrilling Super Bowls in the history of Super Bowls. This guy was undercoached by Jeff Fisher, and he still overcame and became league MVP. This is the brother right here, Steve, the late great Steve McNair. Had he been properly coached, he would have received a yellow jacket. Should have been in the Hall of Fame. He's one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, the most dominant quarterbacks of this era. Salute Steve McNair. People overlook him when they talk about all-time great quarterbacks. He's one of them. He should have got his props. He never had the requisites to be dominant, but he had the tools, the skills, the football acumen. This dude was insanely good, which brings us to another guy who immediately he came in the league in a wonderful situation. He is the proof positive. When you come into a great situation, you do great things. Big Ben Roethlisberger, coached by Bill Cowher, coached by Mike Tomlin, consistently being one of the leaders in passing. You see his numbers at the bottom of the screen. He came from a mid-major school, went to the Steelers, immediately took over for Neil O'Donnell, and the rest is history. Got to a Super Bowl, didn't do great, came back a couple years later and helped the Steelers win that next Super Bowl, which took them to 6. This dude dominated in the NFL for years and years. He had the big arm. He extended plays. He did everything a quarterback should do. Big Ben Roethlisberger is the dictionary definition of big-time quarterback. People don't give him his props. He eventually will be getting a yellow jacket. He just happened to be sandwiched in between Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Otherwise, we'll be looking at him as one of the greatest of all time. We do see him as that, but he'd be a little higher had he not played in a different era. 2 Super Bowl championships, dominant throughout the league, big plays, big arm, big gang. Ben Roethlisberger was the man at this point, and he is on the end of the bench, Supreme Court, because we're giving people their props here. The next quarterback, this guy right here. Pay attention to him. This guy dominated college. This guy, one of the most dominant college football players in the world. He came to the league, rode the bench for a couple years, and then took it over to San Diego. Then San Diego Chargers got injured. People thought his career was over. Drew Brees linked up with Sean Payton. It was a match made in heaven. He threw the ball all over the yard. This dude is one of the most prolific passers in league history. This is another example of stop looking at people's stature and look at what they do. Football players are seen. Football players are born. And Drew Brees was a born football player. This dude won a Super Bowl. He took the Saints from being the Aints to the Saints. Drew Brees should get a whole lot more props than he get, and we're giving him his keys here. Now, this guy right here, the next guy on the list. The next guy on the list is one guy again that shows you this is a team game. Stick to it if it's the name of the game, and if you want respect, you must take and earn respect. This guy right here, Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner was the architect of the greatest show on turf. He got his job by default. They brought in a quarterback. Just knew that guy was going to take over. That guy got injured. No one had ever heard of this dude. He was an extra arm in Green Bay. He was working at a grocery store, went into the Arena League, came to the league and tore it up. Immediately won 2 league MVPs, won Super Bowl MVP, took 2 separate teams to the Super Bowl. That's a rare situation when you can get left for dead, resurrect your career, come back and get to the Super Bowl. If it wasn't for another member of the Supreme Court, which has been Roethlisberger, this dude would have 2 Super Bowl victories. He lost to the Patriots, and you're not gonna really trip. But this dude is in the Hall of Fame. He's justly in the Hall of Fame. Kurt Warner was one of the baddest dudes to ever do it, which leads us to the last members of this iteration of the Supreme Court. These guys are some of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, and we will continue to celebrate them. That's the beauty in this list. Nobody ever. If you're no longer on the Supreme Court, that does not mean you fell off. That just means time caught up with you. Father Time undefeated. And speaking of Father Time being undefeated, this guy right here is one of the greatest throwers of the football, one of the greatest orchestrators of offense. Peyton Manning, he didn't have the gigantic arm. He did not have the wheels. that he did have was the ability to play quarterback. They structured the offense around him. They built the offense around him. They let him run the show, call him sheriff. This dude right here, Peyton Manning, nominated with the Colts. Think about this. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time is on the Colts before he got there with us. Johnny Unitas, the architect of the 4-minute drive. And people have actually forgotten Johnny Unitas because of what he did. Dominated there, got injured, thought his career was over. Went to Denver, went to 2 more Super Bowls, won one. Peyton Manning is one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen, we will ever see, and we will continue to celebrate him. And that only leaves one person. That only leaves one person. The guy who most people in most circles consider the greatest of all time. As you know, you see his statistics on the crawl. We will give him his props, and we will continue to give him his props. I was a fan of him at Michigan. One Tom Brady. People thought Tom Brady initially thought he was a system quarterback. He was just winning because of this. But the thing about Tom Brady is winning in timely fashion. Now, if you ask me, do I think Tom Brady is the greatest of all time? I think he is one of the greatest of all time. My personal bias leans towards Joe Montana. But at the end of the day, big time players do big time things and big time money. Tom Brady did that 7 times. Tom Brady has some horrible Super Bowls, but some high quarterbacks. He has some great Super Bowls and lost. Tom Brady is one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen in this era, in this iteration of the Supreme Court. Number 4, Tom Brady will be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He won over a 20-year period, won with 2 different teams. He had great coaching, and again, quarterbacking is not only throwing the football to the right person at the right time. Quarterbacking is having a great quarterback has to have that coach in his corner, structuring offense around him to live up to his abilities. Tom Brady had that when he was in Tampa, reconstructing the offense, or New England when they constructed the offense around his time. No matter what happened, Tom Brady rose to the occasion 7 times. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He is the Supreme Court Chief Justice, episode 4. I will be back shortly. I need you to understand this is an ongoing conversation. This isn't just a dissertation. I want you to like, comment, tap in, tell a friend to tell a friend. We're doing this on a regular basis. This is the Supreme Court. I am H.R.B. Salute to my parents, the Lord and John. I thought I forgot about that. Nah, never forget my parents. Salute to my parents, the Lord and John. Salute to the people who tapped in, hit like, hit share, subscribe if you haven't. Tell a friend. Other friends to tap in, 2 fingers, 1 up. One of the supporters said Tom Brady was arguably the best decision maker. Peyton Manning, yes, exactly. And Peyton Manning was surgical. He was the best decision maker. He was an excellent decision maker. No matter what you think about Tom, as he said, one of the best decision makers. Peyton Manning was surgical. All of these guys get their props. Let me run through this one more time. Give everybody their props. We're going to salute everybody. I started off the list once I woke up. That's Tom Brady. I started off the list with a guy that a lot of people don't even pay attention to. This guy named Phillip Rivers. Then we got Big Mike Vick in the building. Then we had my man D. McNabb, the great Steve McNair, Big Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Kurt Warner, Peyton Manning, and the illustrious Tom Brady. That is episode 4's version of Supreme Court. Like, share, comment, tell a friend, tap in 7 days. The thing may change because as I said, Father, I can wait some. Oh man, some people on here for a long time, some people on here for a good time. 2 fingers, 1 word. These are the best quarterbacks of this era. I am H.R.B. This is the Bench Media, and I am